Hey everybody, Dustin Dale's back here at the Funny Bone Comedy Club, 168th in Dodge, and this weekend, coming back to the Big O, Tim Gaither. You've seen him here once before. You got to come and check him out again. If you have not seen him, you're missing out. You got to come check out this guy. We had a chance to chat before, and I'm very happy to have this guy back in Omaha. How you doing, Tim?
I'm great, man. It's good to see you again, buddy.
Good to see you, man. You know, it's been a while. Let's see. Since we've been, it's been about a year since you've been here, right?
About a year, yeah. Come back once a year.
Yeah. I mean, has a lot changed for you in a year?
Yeah, I got married, and so yeah, it's a pretty big deal. But other than that, I've just been traveling around doing what I do, and I did Todd and Tyler this morning. It was awesome. I love those guys.
They're pretty cool guys.
The most laid-back radio, you know, like a lot of radio wants you to do like jokes and have like setups, which is fine, but it's so much less pressure to just be in there for like an hour and just chime in whenever you think of something funny or have something to add, rather than being like, you know, nonstop joke. Because it's not the same as it would be on stage anyway. So they're just great, but yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty bad interviews where they're trying to get people to go up there and just do their comedy in front of like two people in the booth. It's not good, but those guys are good.
You know, and if the DJs laugh while you're doing that, that's one thing. But if they're just stone facing you, you know, it's like, oh my God, this is terrible. You know.
Yeah, those are pretty cool guys. I like Todd and Tyler. You going back on there tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah, I'm doing morning TV, and then Todd and Tyler for about an hour. So yeah.
Very nice. Well, make sure you check him out on Todd and Tyler as well. He's always good when he's on there. Now, you said you got married. We got to talk about it. First year of marriage. I myself am a newly married man. I'm about a year and a half in.
Yeah.
It's a little rocky. How's it going for you?
Why is it rocky?
It's just, you know, kind of getting the ins and outs and realizing, well, we're kind of stuck together now. We're stuck together. And
Did you not live together?
No, we did. We did live together.
Okay.
But I feel like now that we're married, it's just like,
Something's
I feel like in
changed.
the back of my mind I can relax. But now she's yelling at me even more because now I'm like her husband, and I have to represent again. I feel like we're dating again.
Huh. Well, I feel for you. I haven't really had to deal with that though. Not much has changed, to be honest with you. It's pretty much the same as it always was. So.
Now, where's she from?
California.
California. All right.
Yeah.
And how did you guys meet?
Her brother-in-law actually married her sister, well, obviously, but I was friends with that guy in high school, and he invited me to a barbecue or Easter dinner or something, and she was there, and she couldn't keep her hands off me.
Very nice. I like it.
No, she's a good girl. That was not the case, but that is how we met, so yeah.
Well, you've also been doing a podcast lately. You're about quite a few episodes in now.
Have you listened to some of it?
I have. I've caught the last few of them.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I enjoyed doing it. I missed this week. I had some technical difficulties, and my guest who was on, I'm not going to throw him under the bus, his name, but he kind of screwed it up. And he's a buddy of mine, so it's fine. But, yeah. But it's been a lot of fun, and I've written some jokes from doing it. You know, like just when I go on like a little rant or something, I'll like earmark something like that could be funny on stage.
Now, some of the stories that you tell on these podcasts are pretty good. One of them is your best 10 minutes.
The best 10 minutes of my career, I was, this was about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago. I was featuring for Bruce, and every show had been great. Every show had been sold out. And the very last show of the week, there was this table up front. Well, before the show, I had seen the gayest man I've ever seen in my life. He had a shirt on that was twisted up into a half shirt. It said "Sister for Rent." Shorty shorts. I mean, just flaming gay, which is fine. I don't care. But I saw this guy. And then all during the show, there's this table up front that's empty, but there's like a half-eaten steak. And so the whole show in the back of my mind, I'm like, what is the deal with this table? Who ate half a steak and then just left, you know, before Bruce even gets up here? And so then my set's going really well. I'm about 17 minutes into it, and I'm getting ready to do a joke, and he walks across the room and makes an entrance because he's just like, I mean, just swishing and just, you know, to where everyone stopped and just looked at him. And the joke I was doing just totally went nowhere. And I go, you know you just messed up my joke, right? He's like, what'd I do? And I was like, well, everyone in here saw you sashay across the room and knew that if I was any kind of comic, I had to say something to you. So they're all waiting for it. And that's when this lady he was with, this big woman, goes, you leave her alone. And I go, her? I just saw her in the men's room. And it started this 10-minute thing between her and I where she was just lobbing them over the plate and I was just knocking them out of the park. It was the only line I remember of the whole 10 minutes, but it was just 10 minutes of stuff just like this. She goes, I'll come up there and kick your ass. I go, girl, by the time you get up here, I'll be in the office cashing my check. And black audiences, when they like you, are the best audiences. No offense to my white brethren, but black audiences have no equal when it comes to just being excited. And they were so fired up about that show that, like, I came off stage and people were like throwing their arms around me like, you a crazy white boy. Oh, you a crazy white boy. I mean, just mauling me, you know. And like people came from next door, like the bar next, people that came from next door that were like this restaurant were like, what the hell is going on in here? You know, I mean, people were pounding the tables. And I don't have it on tape. All it is a good story, and if it was on tape, who knows where my career would be right now. But it was, yeah, so that was the best.
You have good stories like that. What about any nightmares? Do you have any good nightmares?
I've got a few. Some I've told recently on my podcast. When I was starting out, somebody offered me like $300. A club I worked offered me $300 to do this private party, and I walk into this private party, and no one knows I'm supposed to be there. No one. And it's like the guy that owns the house or whatever, I mean, I guess he kind of knew, and he's like, oh, that's right. Well, I guess you could do it over there. And there's like a Mr. Microphone and like a karaoke machine. And I'm like, okay. So I go over there, and I've been doing comedy, I don't know, 5 years or something. So I had some experience, but not a ton. And it just was I've had nightmares like this where I'm doing comedy and all of a sudden the crowd just turns their back on me. Oh, and then it starts getting louder, and I just in the dream I just back off stage. I just back into the curtain and I'm gone. But I was literally living my dream, like living my nightmare. Like they were just eventually, there's a couple people trying to pay attention to me, and then they just completely turned their back to me. And I was supposed to do like 30 minutes. I think I did like 11 or 12, and I just kind of gently set the mic down, and I walked out, and I still got my money.
Hey, still got paid.
Yeah, but nobody, and I've done so much crap like that. I did a show in Branson, Missouri, where this guy was trying to bring R-rated comedy to Branson, Missouri.
Oh, God.
And he comes out, and he's wearing a full Confederate flag, long sleeve Confederate flag shirt. And so right away, I'm like, this guy's a jackass. Right. You know, you just don't wear shit like that. I don't know if I can say that, I'm sorry. But you just don't wear stuff like that. And so we knew we were dealing with somebody who didn't know what they were doing. And it was a long story short, it was a 750-seat theater. And the most we had at any show was 17. And you know how awful that is. Right. I mean, that was the most is 17, and they're all spread out, so it's just like, I mean, just intermittent, like tiny pockets of people here and there, and it was freaking brutal, man. I think those are probably the only 2 gigs I've ever not done my time, you know, like I've ever bailed before it was time for me to go, but it was just so brutal. And then my friend Jay Scott had to go up after me and do like an hour. Oh. And they had this big jumbotron in this theater, and so our faces just look ginormous on this thing with no audience. So it's just this guy's big face just telling jokes, and like every joke is like someone kicking you right between the legs. And he's got these big hands, and he's like sweating, and he'd tell a joke, and of course no one would laugh, or if they did, it was like, ha ha ha, way back here. You know, so he's got these big hands, and he's like wiping them across his face, and he's all sweating, and it was so, I sat in the back, and I was just like watching him, just like, oh, poor guy.
Oh, that's a nightmare. Luckily, we don't get those very often here at the Funny Bone.
No, you could never have one exactly like that here, because even if there was only 2 people out there, it's not a 750-seat room, and they would seat them together at least instead of one over here and one over here, which is pretty much the deal we had in that theater. But I've done so many gigs that just weren't set up right for comedy, and people don't realize a lot goes into it, you know, especially being able to hear and see the comic. That's pretty, you know, it's pretty standard.
There's a good science to stand-up comedy, and they've got it right. here at the Funny Bone Comedy Club. So make sure you come check him out all weekend long. His name's Tim Gaither. Make sure you listen to the podcast. Who we got coming up on the podcast?
I'm not sure, actually. I do my guests usually week to week, but go to timgaithercomedy.com, and all my social media and all that stuff is on there. And if you'd follow me and all that crap, I would appreciate it. It's not really my thing, but I've got to do it because it's just part of it. So please follow me on all that stuff, and thanks for listening.
It's part of the gig. Make sure you check him out. Tim Gaither, like him, follow him, all that good stuff. Check out the podcast. And most important, come out to the Funny Bone this weekend. Tim, thanks for hanging out with me, man.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Good chatting with you, bud. Take care, guys.